On Top Gear tonight, S&M and R&R. I drive the Mercedes S-Class, Tiff tries the BMW M Coupe, and Vicki crashes a Rolls-Royce. Women drivers. Why do they give me all the horrid jobs? Hateful second-hand Nissans and larders, old nails and Alsatian droppings. Well, I'm sick of it. All I get is smelly scrapyards in Smethwick, while Clarkson...
But today they have relented, and here I am. It's not the Bahamas, it's the mountains outside Stuttgart, you know, the Black Forest where the Gatto comes from, and it's -4. But hey, I don't care, because they've agreed to let me test the new Mercedes S-Class, the Burgermeister's Benz. But if you think you're about to hear 5 minutes of solid superlatives, think again. In the interests of fair and balanced journalism, I'm going to be critical. If this car is a crock of poo, you'll hear about it. Because if I'm too complimentary, they'll just send me back to those scrapyards in Smethwick.
It's wonderful.
It's wonderful.
It's marvelous.
Marvelous.
That you should care for me.
Stop it. The music's far too sickly. They know I'm crazy about Mercedes. You'll just get me into trouble. I'm supposed to be impartial, objective, balanced.
It would not be fair to say this car is a lumbering leviathan. Both the 430 and the 500 have modular 24-valve V8s hooked up to electronic 5-speed automatic gearboxes. They are therefore very swift. Plus, there's new rack and pinion steering, adaptive damping and multi-link rear axle, all of which means that the S-Class feels like an E-Class. It's almost checkable. And when you gun the throttle, what a lovely noise. Mustn't get carried away, though.
And getting over-enthusiastic would be very easy, because with the S-Class, the Germans have rewritten the luxury car rulebook. I'll admit, albeit grudgingly, that this is a big car that's actually fun to drive. Well, quite fun.
Now, I'm forced to ask, does the world really need any more large luxury cars? But Mercedes-Benz insists that this is one with a social conscience. It's shorter, narrower, lighter, more aerodynamic, and 15% more economical than the outgoing model, which is just as well, really, as they've managed to time the launch of their new S-Class to coincide perfectly with a global recession.
But they did the same thing back in '91 with the old S-Class and still managed to sell close on 500,000. The rest of the world may struggle, but life for the S-Class driver is really rather easy. This is a car that even parks itself. When you select reverse, the door mirror automatically tilts down so you can see the curb, and sensors in the bumpers tell you exactly when to brake. Just watch this. Fantastic. Well, fairly clever anyway.
In fact, it would be fair to say that this particular motoring car is adequately supplied with technology. You want gadgets, I'll give you gadgets. But where do we start? Seats. Press this button here and you've got your very own Swedish massage. These send pulses through the base of your spine. These move the bolsters in and out. The seats are, of course, electrically heated, but here's the best bit. They're also electrically cooled. Press that button and tiny electronic fans waft air towards your buttocks.
And tired tycoons in the back can enjoy the same sybaritic niceties. There's room enough for 2 American football players plus Vanessa Feltz, not to mention electrically operated rear seats and air-con for all. And as for those tiresome sleeping policemen, you just press a button and the pneumatic suspension raises you above every pimple or pothole in the road.
And no ordinary tape or CD either. There's your tape. And there's your CD. But it wouldn't be an S-Class if it didn't have self-closing doors. You can have intelligent cruise control. It's called Distronic, and it automatically senses if you're too close to the car in front and adjusts your speed for you. On the 500, you can even specify the optional cylinder cut-down. So if you're cruising, 4 of the 8 cylinders automatically shut down and save you about 7% in petrol consumption. The CD, television, satellite navigation and phone can all be activated by voice. Take me to Hillingdon.
The route is being calculated.
And if the man in the Vauxhall Vectra behind becomes just too much to bear, you can blot him out at the press of a button. Bye-bye.
First to land in showrooms will be the S320, 430 and 500, followed by the entry-level S280 next year. 12 months after that comes the mighty S600, powered by a monster V12. And how much? Well, prices will start from around 43,000 for the smallest to a whopping 100 grand for the biggest.
So what do I think of the new Mercedes S-Class? Well, I think it's reasonably well made, adequately specified, quite fast, and not that bad. Look, I can't do this. This car is the dog's dangly bits. It's awesome. It's absolutely fantastic. It's like Sandra Bullock dipped in hollandaise sauce.
Quentin.
Yes?
You were warned. The keys.
But you could cut that bit out. They don't have to know. I mean, you know, give me a chance. Oh, dear. Please, don't send me back to the scrapyards in Smethwick. Look, I'll be very quiet. I'll sit in the corner. Nobody will notice. It's not fair. It is the best car in the world. It's just not fair. I get one chance, that's it. Just one bloody chance.
Bangers, burning rubber and bashing bits. It's a high-speed breaker's yard gone wild. And I don't think I'm stretching the point to say that it's totally, utterly bonkers.
I'm here at the arena in Essex for Firecracker 7, one of Europe's biggest banger meetings. Drivers have travelled from 7 different countries, and there are over 30 models of cars, including 6 XJs, 60 XJSs and 17 limousines. But today is extra special because, I'm told, it will be the first Rolls-Royce banger meeting in the world, and they're the ones getting all the attention.
One of these two was a burnt-out wreck. The other, just another lovely car bought from the paper.
Rolls-Royce has got to be done because it's a Rolls-Royce. It's a nice car, and it's the ultimate car to race, really. I mean, probably not the best car, the best handling car, but probably the best looking car to have.
It's an extreme motor. I mean, you're never going to get better than a Rolls at the end of the day. It's just a top banger to use.
And how much damage are you expecting today?
To get well slaughtered in a nutshell.
You're going to be a bit of a target out there, really. Most people will be chasing after you.
I don't expect it to drive home, put it that way.
Apparently, if you buy a Rolls-Royce, you're contracted not ever to change a roller in any way. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I've heard something about it, but I don't think they can really stop you using it. At the end of the day, it's only a car.
10,000 fans watch as the Grand Parade shows off the fine paint jobs which are about to be destroyed. Meanwhile, I struggle to see over the wheel of my decorative motor.
My choice of car today is this Rolls-Royce. But it's a Rolls-Royce with a slight difference because basically it's a Ford Granada. The 2.8 V6 Granada engine and running gear, and it is the noisiest Rolls-Royce I have ever been in. There's no power steering, there aren't even any windows. What am I doing here?
Finally, my moment arrives, the extra special all-roller race. These 4 are Silver Shadows, but I'm in one of the 2 with Ford workings inside, which are pitted against 2 genuine rollers. My car might not have the chrome of the real McCoy, but it's certainly got the attitude.
God, oh my God. Oh, I've just got hit. Oh my God. Oh no, I'm in love. I don't believe it. What a disaster. Brakes are so spongy, the hand
was very happy to leave the real racing to the others.
Jolly good fun, excellent weed, never do it again, thanks very much.
Time for the full contact race. The last time Rolls competed properly was in the 1914 Alpine Trial. From this, you can probably see why. Lee didn't even make it past the first corner, and they were quite right about being targets for the other drivers. Next up, the real rollers, and for a while it seemed their mighty V8s gave them an extra edge, but it turned out to be a very thin one. John seemed to be doing very nicely, thank you. Then he goes and does this. Nutter. There's only one way out of this kind of mess. Crane power. I thought that it was amazing for the rollers to come out in the first place, but back in the pits, another race was on to get them back out to do it all again. The spirit of ecstasy was still intact, but that was about the only thing that was.
Basically, all they're doing is pushing the engine back, ready to weld it back into place. Everything else is done. Once the engine's back in place, hopefully, the car will be running again, ready for another race.
Incredibly, he was right. All four shadows made it back out for another bash. The result, well, kind of inevitable, really. The Ford rollers, less said, the better. Dave's drive shaft gives up on the second lap. And John's car meets its breaker.
When the Z3 BMW was first launched, there were some that found its styling a bit of an acquired taste. There were many that felt that the 192 horsepower from its 2.8-litre engine wasn't quite enough. In short, it wasn't the ultimate driver's car that many hoped for. A group of BMW engineers realised this and took it upon themselves to restore the image in their spare time. They knew the 320 horsepower M3 engine was on its way, so that would sort the power problem. But still, the chassis would continue to suffer from the inherent handicap of its open layout. And the first thing they did was to take the hood off, cut off the rear wings, and put a proper roof on it. Which suits me fine, because now I can put my golf clubs in the boot instead of the passenger seat. But of course, golf clubs weren't the prime reason for putting a roof on the car. The engineers were looking to stiffen the chassis so they could increase the spring rates and anti-roll control, while at the same time getting rid of the scuttle shake. And the roof more than doubled the torsional rigidity. In order to do their fine-tuning, the engineers took their prototype to the Nürburgring in Germany, the famous racing circuit. Unfortunately, we haven't got such a track in Britain, but we have got this Alpine route at this fabulous Millbrook testing facility, which is almost as good, and certainly puts this M Coupe to the test. The basic handling is predominantly sure-footed understeer. When it comes to the tight fits, you've got to be careful that that back end doesn't catch you out. But that's the sort of thing you want in a performance car, and that was very much provoked by my driving. But even in these very damp conditions, without the benefit of traction control, which they've left out, there really is a tremendous amount of grip, and the poise and balance really gives that driving reward that they wanted from the ultimate driving machine. Unfortunately, there's no extra space to fit in the M3 six-speed gearbox, but still the torque of this wonderful 7,500 rev 3.2-litre straight six is enough to pull you out of most problems. Indeed, there's no extra room for the driver either. The golf clubs may be comfortable in the back, but I'm still a bit cramped in the front if you're over 6 foot tall, and there's still this great big wheel. And the sort of things you do, however, get used to, as is this two-tone interior, which isn't to everyone's taste. And their conservatory extension gave the styling doubters even more cause to criticise the car. But I, for one, find its striking lines more and more appealing as you wander around its ever-changing shape. From the long, sleek nose, through its sexy, narrowing waistline, to its flared bread van rear end. Despite the addition of the roof, the weight of the M Coupe is only 40 kilos more than that of the M Roadster. And yet they still claim the same 0 to 62 speed of 5.4 seconds, although a lot of people think it's even quicker than that. Both models also have the same £40,000 price tag, so all you're losing in exchange for more space and improved ride and handling is the opportunity to pose open-topped on the occasional sunny day. And finally, after another hard day's work driving round and round the Nürburgring, the engineers could cruise home on the Autobahn at a restricted 155 miles an hour, listening to their favourite classical tunes without the horrible roar of a soft-top roof. And at the same time, give themselves a pat on the back for a job well done.
The Triumph Stag and the MGB. Brake classics rediscovered by the Stringback Driving Gloves Brigade in the 80s. But 10 years on, a new generation craves cleaner, crisper, more continental lines. Welcome to the cravat-wearing world of 70s suave. Stodgy saloons were the stock in trade of the likes of Fiat and Peugeot, and to a lesser extent, Lancia. But with a wave of Pininfarina's magic wand, all three were transformed into rakish two-door coupes, reeking of high karate cool. Now, they might not be the most obvious classic choice, because they're so different. And you know what? When you get behind the wheel, you can't help but act different too. The second you slip in behind the wheel, you're transformed into an international man of mystery. Someone who only gets his hands dirty counting his winnings at the casino. A man who smashes crime syndicates in his spare time. In the era of the Allegro, there was a consortium of cool, and they called themselves the Coupes. Dusty Springfield and Sophia Loren were among the many glamour-puss owners of 70s super coupes, and you really did need to be on big money to have bought one brand new. Today, though, their star has waned, eclipsed by more obvious 60s classics, and you can pick one up for a pittance. For modern motorists, the crudity of many a classic car can prove something of a culture shock. But even though this absolutely fabulous Lancia Gamma Coupe was born out of the mid-70s, it drives and feels as sophisticated as many a motor you'd find stood in a showroom today. It has a powerful 2.5-litre fuel-injected engine with 140 brake horsepower, mated to a 5-speed transmission and disc brakes all round. But of course, it wasn't all good news. This is an Italian car from the 70s, so there are all manner of electrical and mechanical maladies. And then there was the rust. No, let's not even think about it. Of all the candidates for conversion to a two-door coupe, perhaps Peugeot's 504 saloon was the least likely. its main attributes being its size, its strength and its bomb-proof durability. And whilst it is inescapably Italian in looks, driving it reveals a temperament which is entirely Gallic. Its humble underpinnings engineered for straight-ahead stability, rather than brio through the bends. For a Fiat, the Coupe is a big, big car, tipping the scales at over 1.5 tons. And with an engine detuned for torque, performance can be best described as leisurely, which of course is entirely in character with the rest of the car. Still, shut your eyes for a moment and, dare I say it, you could imagine yourself cocooned inside the deep-buttoned Draylon and fisheye aluminum interior of a Pontiac Trans Am. But the styling is much more Monaco than Michigan, pure automotive architecture. And the interior doesn't disappoint either. From the panelled headlining to the crushed velour upholstery, it oozes casual opulence. And that sculptural gear selector really ought to be in a museum of modern art. For a car from a decade damned for its preoccupation with glam and flash, it's all delightfully subtle. But I sense there are still some of you entirely unconvinced by my arguments. You want wire wheels, leather seats, green paint. You like your classics curvier. But surely a classic should be defined by its qualities. It should be of the best. Fiat, Lancia and Peugeot were all big wealthy companies. These were their flagships and they really pushed the boat out. The exquisitely angular Fiat is easily my favourite. Perhaps too exotic for everyday, parts can be impossible to find, and all three have a raging thirst for 4-star. If you're going to buy one, get a good one for around £5,000, because restoring one of these complex coupes could cost you your sanity. And next week there's our land speed record programme, Blood, Salt and Tears.